you know, the whole science of saddling is not just the saddle, but it's also the pad that you put under there, because that's the interface between the horse and the saddle. And a good pad can make a big difference. Like, it'll even improve a bad saddle, but there's nothing like the combination of a good pad and a good saddle. So this is the Theraflex pad, and it's a really unique pad because it's got a vent down the horse's spine to avoid pressure and also to allow for heat release. It's breathable, there's felt inside, and it's also a non-slip surface. And so it adds to a lot of stability when you're riding, and it means you don't have to cinch up nearly as tight, which is much more comfortable for the horse. And then these little shims go inside these pockets here. They're Velcro, right? There's Velcro that you can get in like that, and there's air cells inside, which I'll show you. But these shims sit inside like this, and the way that we had it on the horse was like that. They were staggered like that over his shoulder, and that's how the saddle will fit him perfectly with that pad.
And why does the top one go more forward?
The best thing to do is to stagger it like that so that you don't have such a big edge to go over. And when you do this, the air inside the pad fills through those areas, or at least, you know, under these sides, and then it makes up for any imperfections, and the horse doesn't even feel that there's a difference.
Okay, and this curve points to the front?
Yep, the curve goes to the front because if you imagine the scapula coming this way, we try to leave as much space as possible, and that's why they're cut back.
Okay.
Okay, and we stagger them one on top like this, so again there's more space coming underneath.
All right, so you've got more air under there.
Yep.
The slope down here. Okay.
Okay, so this pad is shaped especially for the performer saddle. Right? We have 3 different shapes depending on what kind of saddle you use. Now I want you to open the Velcro pockets and pull out the blue air cell. Okay, this is the technology that's inside these pads, and it's by Thermarest, and they're famous for making camping mattresses and also for making cushions and things that go under people in wheelchairs and, you know, in hospital beds, for instance. And they have this baffled air with an open cell foam inside. Now, if you start to roll it from the back, like roll it up, you're going to compress the air. Okay, you'll get to a point where you can't roll it anymore because now, like, it's really full. Yeah. Okay, now feel how hard that is. When it's hard like that and there's too much air in it, it doesn't work well for the horse. It's like you're sitting on a bubble, and you don't have to roll it up to feel that, because once the weight of the saddle is on, it does that same kind of tightening effect. In order for this to work, it doesn't need much air at all, and you let the air out, and so as you saddle your horse, and this starts to push air out with the weight, you then close the valves before you get on, and now you have just the right amount of air in there. It needs very little air to operate.
That feels more like a cushion, whereas before it was a bit like a balloon.
Yeah, and you don't want a balloon. It's a cushion that now fills in any little gaps and spaces and unevenness between the saddle and the horse.
Okay.
It's brilliant. So now the easiest way to put the shims in is to deflate these air cells. So do it just while this one is out, okay? Just push on it, like squish the air out. You could roll it or squish it, okay? But squish it like that, and now quickly shut the valve. Go, shut the valve. Okay? So you don't have all the air out, but you've got a lot of the air out. Okay? And now put it back into the pocket, into the Velcro pocket, and there's a little hole here for the valve to stick out through. So push the back in, and then you want to protect the valve because it's delicate. You never want sand or anything to get into it, and then you're going to push it up into there.
But would I ever have a need to take these out?
If you wash your pad,
Okay.
you want to take those out. Otherwise, you don't need to take them out. Okay, and then just make sure it's all nice and flat inside. And you only need to wash your pad, 2 or 3 times a year, and that's only if it gets really sweaty. Because there's a way that you just like wipe them off at the end of a ride and vacuum them even, or brush the hair out, and that just keeps them functioning nicely. Okay, now do the same thing, let the air out of this one, because it's going to be easier to put your shims in when the air's not all filled up like that. Yep. Okay. Now, when you open the pocket like this, there's scratchy Velcro here, and to stop your knuckles getting ripped, if you hold it with one hand and go in under there, then your hand protects your other hand.
Okay.
All right? And remember, you're going to stand them up like this. So you're going to put one in. Often putting the top one in first is easiest. And then you can slide the other one in underneath, and they both sit on top of the blue air cell. You don't put them underneath, they're on top.
Okay. And is the thin one always on top, or does that depend?
It actually doesn't matter. You can put thin or thick on top.
Okay.
The main thing is that you've got the two thicknesses there. Yep.
Okay, so when it goes inside, basically that's exactly where it's going to sit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And, okay.
Probably a little closer together. Like if you look at where they have to fit inside of this shape here, they'll sit about like that. About a 1 inch overlap.
Okay. Can I go like that?
You can try.
And cheat?
Sometimes, because you've got to get through this little narrow space here,
Yeah.
trying to do two at once is harder.
Okay.
If you bend them like that, it might help. Like that. Yep. She did it.
Okay. And then just move that top one forward.
Yes. But I would get both in and then jiggle them around.
Oh, okay. On both sides?
Mm-hmm. Fold them in half a little bit. It'll make it easier. Like that. You're doing it. It's like awkward to do it that way. If you go like this, from that side it'll be easier.
Uh-huh.
So those ones got a bit wedged up. That's where it might be easier to put them in one at a time. Remember to hold it like this so that you don't get anything stuck on the Velcro.
I'm getting everything stuck on
That's
the
all right. The first time it's kind of awkward, but once you've done it a few times, it's so easy.
Okay, so this one goes underneath.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh, that was much
Great.
easier.
Okay. Okay, now just take a moment and make sure that they're set up equally.
Those ones look perfect. I like being able to feel it like this because then you can feel the symmetry if they're in the same spot. Well, that feels good to me.
Yep. Okay. Close the little Velcro pockets. And open the valves. So you want the valves to be open when you first saddle your horse, because as you saddle and then do 2 or 3 tightenings of your cinch, the air gradually moves out of there until you've got the right amount of air left.
Okay, so it's now that we've opened them, this is filling back up with air?
The air automatically fills in there.
All right.
And if you're really impatient, you can even blow into the valves. But
Okay.
it takes about a minute to fill up. That's all.
All right.
Okay. Now you can go up and just plop that on your horse's back in a nice, polite manner. And put it a little bit high on the withers, because that's going to allow you to then slide it back with the hair. There. Okay. Now I'm going to teach you how to saddle with style.